Okay, today we're talking about project management basics. If you know project management, you're going to be like, yeah, those are the basics. I'm going to just cover 3 areas that you must address in any project that you're managing. And so I'm hoping this is going to be helpful for maybe those of you who are new to managing any sort of project out there. The main goal of project managers is really to organize. And so if you keep that in the back of your mind as you're going through this, make sure you're always trying to keep everybody, resources, and people organized. And so with that, you have 3 areas to organize. And those 3 areas are the scope, the cost, and the time. In those 3 areas, almost every project you can kind of throw into those buckets. And so if you know what to do with those buckets, then you're going to be that much further ahead in regards to succeeding in your project. And so the first thing I want to talk about is scope. Scope has to do with what are you trying to accomplish. You have to make sure that you're making it very, very clear. Here's what we're trying to accomplish. Here's the scope. The other thing you want to do is make sure you reduce scope creep, meaning don't let things get added to the project that are not necessary. If you're maybe in software development, people want to always go, oh, can you add this in? Or can we tweak that? That can cause problems for your project, not just on the scope, but also on the cost and also on the time. And so try to reduce scope creep, meaning people adding things to the scope after you've already decided, hey, here's what we're delivering. So keep an eye on that. The second one is cost. The cost is largely based on the scope that you decide. So if you can control the scope, you can control the cost. Once that starts to get out of hand, then you're going to have to be having some tough conversations about, you going over budget on a project. And so obviously time can also affect cost. So what you want to do with cost is, because it's kind of like an effect of the other two, you want to make sure that you are being very transparent about the cost that you're incurring. Okay, so if you're going over budget, explain why. Hey, we added this extra scope, these new features, or the client wanted to change the plans. Okay, then there you go. That's why the cost has gone up. And then the last thing I wanted to address was time. So time has to do with, in project management, like setting up milestones. Again, if you're doing agile project management, that has to do with like your iterations, your sprints that you have, making sure that people are completing the work in a given time frame. Now, what you want to do when it comes to time as a project manager is you want to push for action, meaning if you're in these meetings and it comes up like, oh yeah, I'll review that later, or so-and-so is supposed to get X done, go, okay, when are we planning on having that be done? On Thursday, next Tuesday? Try to nail down some sort of date in regards to what needs to get done, because that's just going to help you, 1, be more transparent about what's happening with the project, and then 2, that can help you get ahead of any potential issues with the cost or even your timeline. And so try to push for action, try to get those dates, and then along with that is try to find out who's responsible. So if somebody says, hey, we'll take a look at that, say, oh, okay, who's going to deliver that? One of the things I like to do in my meetings when I'm doing project management is I like to recap the action items and say, okay, Sally said she's going to get X, Y, and Z done. She'll have that by Thursday. That's on her plate. I'm going to set up milestones and next steps, by next Friday. So that's on my plate. And we make it very clear and very transparent to everybody involved where we're at on that project. So the takeaway here today is keep an eye on those 3 areas: scope, cost, and timing. Those are the project management basic buckets, if you will. And then try to push for action, dates, and who's responsible. If you can do those things, this is at a very simple level. You have a much more likelihood of delivering that project on time and on budget. And so if you like these sorts of videos, make sure you hit like, share, subscribe, and then make sure you stay on the path followed. Until next time.